The Battle of Uclés saw an Imperial French corps led by Marshal Claude Péraud Victor attack a Spanish force under Francisco Javier Venegas. The French easily crushed their outnumbered foes, capturing over half of the Spanish infantry. Uclés is located in the province of Cuenca, 15 kilometers east of Tarancón and 100 kilometers southeast of Madrid. The action occurred during what is called the Peninsular War in English-speaking countries and the Spanish War of Independence in Spain. The war was part of a larger struggle known as the Napoleonic Wars. Emperor Napoleon invaded Spain with a huge army in late 1808, scattered the Spanish forces, and seized Madrid. However, the appearance of a British army commanded by John Moore caused the French emperor to order his army to pursue the British into northwest Spain. With their enemies spread thin, the Spanish armies began to revive. In late December 1808, the army of the centre led by Pedro de Alcántara Álvarez de Toledo, 13th Duke of the Infantador, advanced slowly toward Madrid, causing alarm among the scanty French forces guarding the capital. The cautious Infantador sent his lieutenant Venegas with a strong vanguard to annoy the French. After Venegas won a minor action at Tarancón, Victor concentrated his corps and marched against him in mid-January 1809. Without instructions or support from Infantador, Venegas unwisely tried to hold a strong position at Uclés. Victor overwhelmed the Spanish defenders with one division and herded many of them into the arms of his second division, which had marched around their flank. Gathering up Venegas survivors, Infantador led his crippled army into the mountains, but not before losing much of his artillery. Blamed for the fiasco, Infantador was relieved of command. The next action in the area was the Battle of Ciudad Real in March. Background: after the 2 de Mayo uprising and the subsequent disaster at the Battle of Bailén, the French occupying armies in Spain were forced to pull back behind the Ebro River in the northeast. Shocked and enraged at the turn of events, Napoleon ordered 130,000 veteran soldiers to march into Spain. The French emperor planned to unite the reinforcements with the troops already there and lead them to conquer Spain and Portugal once and for all. Meanwhile, the Spanish people had been deceived by their relatively easy successes and believed that the struggle was almost over. The Spanish generals and politicians began to squabble among themselves. By the 10th of October 1808, Napoleon had 244,125 soldiers massed in 8 army corps, the Cavalry Reserve, the Imperial Guard, and other formations for the purpose of conquering Spain. In November 1808, the Napoleonic armies struck with crushing force and the Spanish defences unraveled in battles at Burgos, Espinosa, Tudela, and Somosierra. On the 1st of December, Madrid meekly capitulated to Napoleon. The French emperor reinstalled his brother Joseph Bonaparte as king and began rewriting the laws. He intended to send armies to seize Seville in the south and reconquer Portugal at the first opportunity. However, a new enemy appeared on the scene to upset Napoleon's plans. On the 11th of December 1808, General John Moore led a British army numbering 22,500 foot soldiers, 2,500 horsemen, and 66 artillery pieces northeast from Salamanca. Moore had written to a fellow general, "If the bubble bursts and Madrid falls, we shall have to run for it." Soon after, Moore learned that Napoleon had seized Madrid and that over 200,000 Imperial French troops were in the field. Nevertheless, the British general decided to strike at Marshal Nicolas Soult's isolated Second Corps in the north of Spain. When the British cavalry routed Soult's horsemen at Sahagun on the 21st of December, the French general was completely surprised. Meanwhile, Napoleon found out what was going on and ordered 80,000 troops to march north to annihilate the British. Getting news of the avalanche coming his way, Moore led his army toward Corunna in northwest Spain. Though ultimately the British army was safely evacuated, Moore was slain at the Battle of Corunna on 16 January 1809, and 5,000 of his soldiers died during the midwinter retreat. Because of his unsuccessful effort to destroy Moore's army, Napoleon's plans for conquering Spain and Portugal were temporarily sidetracked. Napoleon personally quit Spain on 19 January 1809 and never returned. By the 23rd he was in Paris, preparing for the next war with the Austrian Empire. Though perhaps 75,000 Frenchmen had died in this struggle so far, the emperor hoped that his brother Joseph and his marshals would soon complete the conquest of the Iberian Peninsula. This hope proved to be a vain one. Operations. The month of December saw General of Division Laurent Vivian de Saint-Cyr drub the Spanish forces of Captain General Juan Miguel de Vives' wife Elie at the Battle of Molins de Rey, while Marshal Jean Lannes began the second siege of Zaragoza, with Napoleon and his main field army away chasing Moore. The imperial troops holding Madrid were too weak to mount any offensives. In total, there were 28,000 infantry, 8,000 cavalry, and 90 guns in Marshal Claude Péraud Victor's First Corps, Marshal François-Joseph Lefebvre's Fourth Corps, and the cavalry divisions of Generals of Division Antoine Lasalle, Marie-Victor de la Tour-Maubourg, and Edouard Jean-Baptiste Milhaud. Not counted was King Joseph's Royal Guard, consisting of 4 battalions and 1 cavalry regiment of Frenchmen plus 2 small regiments of Spanish deserters. The cavalry formed the outer line of defense. La Tour-Maubourg posted a cavalry brigade each in Tarancon, Acana, and Madrid-Ajos. To the west, Milhaud's troopers patrolled the area around Talavera de la Reina. Farthest west were La Salle's horsemen watching Almaraz, where there was an important bridge across the Tagus River. Victor defended Aranjuez with General of Division Eugene Casimir Villets' division, while Lefebvre held Talavera with the divisions of Generals of Division Horace François Sébastiani and Jean-Baptiste Cyrus de Valence. The 55th Line Infantry Regiment of General of Division Jean-Joseph Marquis d'Essol's absent reserve division was posted at Guadalajara. Aside from the Royal Guards, Madrid was garrisoned by General of Division François-Aimable Ruffin within 1st Corps Division and General of Division Jean-François Laval with IV Corps Division. The Army of the Centre ended its retreat at Cuenca on 10 December 1808. Its new commander, General Pedro de Alcantara Alvarez de Toledo, 13th Duke of the Infantador, allowed his soldiers to rest but was forced to execute 3 soldiers. 1. A lieutenant had refused to march and positioned his artillery battery to fire on the troops who were obeying orders. The remnant of the 1st Division was sent home to Valencia province to recruit, while the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Divisions were reorganized into 4 divisions including a vanguard and a reserve. Many low-strength line regiments were consolidated from 3 battalions into 1 or 2. Stragglers and reinforcements swelled the ranks. The soldiers' spirits rose when a brigade under General Condrella Charlilly marched into camp, having escaped from Napoleon's armies. Hearing that the emperor had gone off to the north, Infantador decided to launch an offensive toward Madrid before his reorganization was completed. Spanish offensive. On 25 December 1808, Infantador sent General Francisco Javier Venegas with the vanguard and most of the cavalry to seize Tarancon, while Brigadier General Senra and 4,000 soldiers moved on Aranjuez. Senra found Villets' division at Aranjuez and declined to attack, an action for which he was harshly criticized by Infantador. Meanwhile, Venegas managed to encircle General of Brigade André Thomas Pereyman and his dragoon brigade in Tarancon. At the last moment, the French detected what was afoot and hurriedly saddled up their horses. Pereyman decided to break out at once. When the dragoons charged the Spanish force that had gotten behind the town, the infantry were forced to form squares. Perryman's troopers then rode between the squares to safety, but not before 50 to 60 saddles were emptied. Because the Spanish cavalry was late into action, the two dragoon regiments got away without further damage. Farther to the west, on December 24, Lefebvre marched to seize the bridge at Almaraz as instructed. His soldiers captured the bridge and 4 cannons in Uclés, dispersing the Spanish defenders. At this time, the marshal made a remarkable error, leaving only La Salle's cavalry and 2 battalions on the Tagus. He marched northeast to Avila, ignoring repeated instructions from King Joseph to desist. Arriving at Avila on the 5th of January, Lefebvre's corps was completely removed from the defensive lines around Madrid. Infuriated with his disobedient subordinate, Napoleon removed Lefebvre from command and gave the 4th Corps to Sebastiani. With the 4th Corps out of position, revolts breaking out, and the army of the centre threatening Madrid, Joseph and his advisor Marshal Jean-Baptiste Jourdan were in a panic. Only Villeta and La Tour-Maubourg with 9,000 soldiers stood between Infantador and the capital. But, instead of pressing his advantage, the Spanish commander became inert between the 26th of December and the 11th of January. Infantador seems to have spent his time concocting fantastic strategical schemes while leaving his lieutenant Venegas without instructions. To support the army of the centre, a 6,000-man Spanish division under General Marquis del Palacio moved north from the Sierra Morena to Villajata. While Infantador dithered, Joseph and Jourdan moved swiftly against the local insurrections. The 27th Light Infantry put down the rebellion in Chinchon with extreme brutality. All the men in the town were massacred. Colmenar Viejo suffered also, with numerous inhabitants being executed. Joseph ordered Victor to shift east from Aranjuez to Arganda del Rey to block the road from Tarancon. On the 8th of January, the division of Desolis arrived in Madrid, followed in 2 days by the return of the 4th Corps from Avila. These heavy reinforcements allowed Napoleon's defensive scheme around Madrid to be re-established. Reinforced by the Dutch brigade, Level's division was sent to garrison Talavera while Valence's division was ordered to hold Toledo. The divisions of Desolis and Sebastiani became the Madrid garrison. Victor was sent Ruffin's division as a reinforcement and ordered to attack. Battle. Victor marched forth on the 12th of January with 12,000 infantry and 3,500 cavalry in the divisions of Ruffin, Villeta, La Tour-Maubourg, and the 1st Corps Light Cavalry. Learning of the enemy's approach, Venegas withdrew from Tarancon to Uclés where he was joined by Senra's brigade. He requested further instructions from the commander of the army of the centre, but none were forthcoming. Instead, Infantador sent 3 or 4 battalions of reinforcements and advised his lieutenant that he was on the way. However, he did not give any date for his appearance. Venegas had reservations about offering battle to Victor, but, perhaps swayed by the favorable defensive position at Uclés, he decided to stand his ground with approximately 9,500 foot soldiers, 1,800 horsemen, and 5 cannon, one of which was broken down. Though some of the regiments were veterans of Belen, many of the units had shaky morale. Another authority credited Venegas with 9,500 infantry, 2,000 cavalry, and 480 artillerists for a total of 11,980 troops. On the 11th of January 1809, Infantador's 21,216-strong army consisted of the 3,929-man vanguard under Major General José María de la Cueva, 14th Duke of Albuquerque, the 4,295-strong reserve led by Lieutenant General Manuel La Peña, the 5,121-man 1st Division commanded by Lieutenant General Antonio Mallet, Marqués de Coupigny, the 5,288-strong 2nd Division under Major General Condrogas, approximately 2,800 cavalry, 383 sappers, and 386 artillerists. Venegas force was a collection of units drawn piecemeal from all 5 major units of the Army of the Center. The vanguard contributed 2,848 men, the reserve 1,634, the 1st Division 2,804, the 2nd Division 1,917, and the cavalry 1,814. There were also 383 sappers and about 100 artillerists. The units from the vanguard were the Murcia, 1st Battalion of Cantabria, Jan Provincial, Chinchilla Provincial, Catalan Volunteers, Barbastro Cazadores, and Campomer regiments. From the reserve were the 1st Battalion of Walloon Guard, 1st Battalion of Irlanda, and Andalusia Provincial Grenadiers regiments. From the 1st Division came the 1st and 3rd Battalions of Africa, 1st and 3rd Battalions of Burgos, 3rd of Seville, Cuenca Provincial, Navas de Tolosa, and Cadiz Tiradores regiments. The 2nd Division contributed the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Battalions of Military Orders, 4th of Seville, Toro Provincial, Bailén, and Carmona Volunteers regiments. The mounted contingent included the Castilla Dragoon, and Bourbon, España, Lusitania, Pavia, Príncipe, Reina, Santiago, and Tecus cavalry regiments. The strength and composition of the imperial units that would fight at Uclés were as follows. Note that the list includes men present under arms and is from the 1st of February 1809 date, which was 2 weeks after the battle. Ruffins 5,429 man. 1st Division of the 1st Corps comprised 3 battalions each of the 9th Light, 24th Line, and 96th Line infantry regiments. Villets 6,376 strong. 3rd Division of the 1st Corps was made up of 3 battalions each of the 27th Light, 63rd Line, 94th Line, and 95th Line infantry regiments. The 1st Corps had 48 field pieces manned by 1,523 gunners plus 487 sabres of the Westphalian Chevauleger Regiment. There were 4 foot artillery batteries, 2 per infantry division, plus 2 additional horse artillery batteries. General of Division Pierre Bellon Lapis's 2nd Division was on detached duty. La Tour Malberg's 2,527 strong 1st Dragoon Division included the 1st, 2nd, 4th, 9th, 14th, and 26th Dragoon regiments. The 3 brigades were commanded by generals of Brigade Péraimond, Ignace Laurent d'Ulenberg, and Alexandre, Vicomte Dijon. Another source stated that Victor directed 16,300 men at Uclés. Of these, Ruffin led 5,000 troops, Villeta 7,000, La Tour Malberg 2,500, Beaumont 1,300, and the artillery 500. Venegas strung out his soldiers along the northeast to southwest ridge. 3 infantry battalions and 4 cavalry regiments formed an advance guard to watch the approach of the French from Tribaldos village. 4 battalions defended the town of Uclés in the center with remaining cavalry and the 4 guns in front. 8 battalions held the right flank, while 6 battalions deployed on the left flank. Venegas held only a single battalion in reserve. The rest of his units formed a single overextended line. On the 13th of January, Victor marched from Tarancon at dawn in 2 columns. Victor with Villets and most of La Tour Malberg's divisions took the right-hand road, which was more direct. Ruffin's division and some cavalry took the left-hand road. Villeta quickly drove the advance guard out of Tribaldos. It fell back to the main Spanish position. After getting a good look at the Spanish line, Victor ordered Ruffin to swing to the right and take Venegas in flank and rear. Victor deployed Villets' division and the cavalry, a total of about 7,000 foot soldiers and 2,500 horsemen. In the center, a battery unlimbered and began bombarding the Spanish cavalry in Uclés. The dragoons were posted behind the artillery. Meanwhile, the 94th and 95th Line under General of Brigade Jacques-Pierre Louis Puthard made a wide sweep to the right. Ascending the end of the ridge where the slope was less steep, Puthard's 6 battalions attacked the Spanish left flank and began driving it back. From his vantage point at the monastery in Uclés, Venegas ordered some units from the right flank to go to the assistance of his imperiled left. However, the French attack proceeded swiftly and crumpled up the Spanish left flank before the reinforcements could give any help. Puthard's troops soon reached the walls of Uclés. When Victor saw the success of his right wing, he ordered Villot's left-wing brigade under General of Brigade Michel Marie Pacted to attack the Spanish right flank. Since many of the defending units had been sent to the left, Pacted's assault easily reached the top of the ridge. Shaken by the obvious reverse on the left flank, the right flank troops offered little resistance. Soon, Venegas's entire force was retreating from the field. The cavalry seems to have fought hardly at all, leaving only 2 or 3 battalions under General Pedro Agustin Giron to act as the rear guard. Meanwhile, Ruffin's division lost its way and made a wider march than intended. Though Ruffin was late to the field, he and his troops fortuitously arrived squarely in the Spanish rear. La Tour Malberg's pursuing dragoons drove Venegas' hapless soldiers right into the arms of Ruffin's 9 battalions. The nimble Spanish cavalry largely escaped along with some left flank infantry, while Giron's men broke out between 2 French regiments. But the majority of the Spanish foot soldiers were trapped and forced to surrender.